Right.
Oh, what are you working on over here? Oh,
Jim, I'm trying to braid our hair together.
Is it worth it? Let me weigh in. Is your biz out here trying to make it? Are you charging out your color fees? We'll have you saying at the end, Bleach, please.
Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Bleach, Please. We know this is a community built for the savvy stylist ready to level up, and I'm so excited. Mandi and I have a lot to talk about. So what are we going to talk about today?
well, first let's cheers. Let's cheers and kick it off, right?
Why not?
And I think now things are kind of opening up, so we can real cheers. If not, we did anyway. So there we are.
Who knows the rules? We're going to do it anyway.
We're gonna do it anyway. Yeah, we work out together every day, so by now we're in close contact, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually wanted to kick things off and just talk about something completely random. So Alicia and I were together not too long ago to celebrate a big milestone birthday. She can share that birthday with you if she'd like. But in that vein, I showed up a little bit later than the rest of the group. And so I was a little bit behind on my champagne. And I needed something to like get me in the mood, to just like get me on the same level as the rest of the ladies that we were with. It was a small group, but they were well on their way to having a great time. I needed a little bit more of a boost. So I asked for a power up song, and I felt like it kind of was a good thing for us to kick things off because everybody has like a theme song, a power up song, a song that like really makes them feel good after like a hard day of work, like amps them up for a workout, gets them ready to have several champagnes during a milestone birthday when you're feeling a little lame. So what's your power up song?
Oh,
what gets you moving after, and it could be, I guess, depending on the situation, but what's your like go-to song?
I feel like one of the most classic go-to songs is "Tonight's Gonna Be a Good Night." I think it's Black Eyed Peas, right?
Oh yeah,
it was actually my wedding song, but like great that it was. But like I'm honestly like that is the best song to be like. I think tonight's gonna be a good night.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, it really does. It'll change the mood no matter what you're
It's
doing.
also kind of like that like fail safe, like when you go out with people, and well, like I mean when we can go out with people one day, but when you're like. You know, you hear that song. It's like it's a calling to get back to like a dance floor or get connected. So like you can play that game. That's what we did. We're like, hey, if you hear the song, we'll meet you back on the dance floor. Let's go.
Yeah,
But,
smart. Yeah, mine is Robin. It's probably not as common. It's Dancing on My Own, and I don't know why, but just it's a whole vibe. So if you haven't listened to it or it's been a minute, please put on Robin, Dancing on My Own, and tell me that you're not happy or listening to it. So
put it on loop.
Yeah.
Loop it all the time. It's good.
Yeah. So I think we'll kick things off. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the sacrifices nobody told you about. So we're going to talk about some salon things. We're going to talk about being a working mom because both of us are working mothers. And we're going to talk about just basically that myth of how does she do it all. So Alicia, I think we'll kick things off just talking to you. So I want to talk more about your journey as an entrepreneur and highlight some of the sacrifices that you've had to make along the way in order to kind of get where you are right now.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, you know, when you become a stylist, you know, you're in school usually for up a year, maybe a year and a half before you get certified. And I think that like layer of life really echoes having kids and having a family. So for me, I did them all at the same time. Like I built my career, I had kids, I opened a business, like I like layered it all because that's just what you do, you know? And it is that on that like topic, which is like, oh, I can't believe she can do it all. And it's like, as great as that was, like, I mean, there were sacrifices along the way that we had to kind of go through.
Yeah.
But I was determined. I was determined to prove that I could do it. And to show up, like, and prove to myself that, like, I can have all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of my journey kind of started there. Whereas when I started in hair school, after I started hair school, went right into the notion that I'm going to open my own business. So the same thought of having children and opening a business was like intersected at the same point. So I just kind of went for that.
Yeah.
Didn't realize how much harder it would have been to have a newborn and a new business at the same time is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, I'm like, half of the time I thought maybe I was a little crazy and naive then, but yeah, I made it work.
Yeah. And do you think that there was some things that helped you along the way? Supportive spouse, you probably couldn't be at home as much as maybe you would have liked to in the ideal world, whatever that means. Was it helpful to have
Oh, absolutely.
Have your partner there to help you out so that you could be into the business and kind of try to juggle both?
Yeah, I mean, if we think about it, like we're very lucky in the salon industry. We're lucky in a sense that we can be really flexible in our hours. So if that means you have to shift and you work more evenings and weekends, and you're at home with the kid during the day or whatnot, and you work around your spouse or whatever your support system is, we can do that. And I think that's really something I took for granted, or something I didn't understand, especially now that I'm in the tech sector. It's completely different. Yeah. Completely different, because you have to have more structure around it. But I think the idea of you're in the service-based industry and you can work at your pace. So maybe some days when I was overwhelmed, then I would cut back the next week, or like I'd be able to like ebb and flow. Yeah. But the only reason I was able to do that was because I had support. Yeah. I had my mom there to help me. I had a supportive husband in the process, and I did a lot. I did a lot of work with a lot of people around to help support me along the way as well. Yeah. So you absolutely need that support to be able to grow.
Did you ever struggle asking for help? I know myself. I've really struggled with this. Asking for help, and then as I get older, I've really realized that it actually doesn't make you weak at all. It actually makes you a stronger person to ask for help. But I've really struggled with that over the years, and especially as I'm a very new mom, and I struggle a lot with. In the early days of having Nash, who's my son, I really felt like I've always been known as somebody who, on the surface, if you don't know me, is kind of doing it all, which is such a fallacy now, which is, I'm so glad that becoming a mother has kind of stripped that away. And I can't keep that facade anymore, because I just can't. It's just not possible. So for me, it taught me that I actually had to ask for help, or else I was going to drown and fail more than if I didn't ask for help. Did you find that you struggle in the early days being such a strong entrepreneurial person who the vibe I get from you often is that you want to do it all? And did you struggle asking for help? And is it easier for you now?
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to ask for help, because I think early stage you're like, well, I could do this. Like, I don't want to inconvenience anyone. But I think it comes down to that word is like life balance, right? Like, people are like, how do you have work-life balance? And like, how do you have all the things? The only reason why I have all those things is because I've literally delegated a lot of those things. And I finally let go of the things that like I can't control. So, if you truly are under that mindset where it's like, how do I surround myself with people that were better than me, or more capable than me, or could give the love, support, whatever it needed in that, whether it was being a parent or being a boss, like, what do I need to surround myself with so that like everybody wins? Because ultimately, doing everything on your own, no one's going to care about you more than you care about you. And so if you think about that and you give more opportunities to people, and you like let go of the thing in your head that says like, well, you're not really that great of a mother if you aren't around your kid all the time, or you're not showing up to their games because you're spending time at work, or you're that mom, or it's like, what is in the head? What is the thing that keeps you doing that? And is that truly reality, or is that you making that up?
Yeah, is that actually how people feel? Or are you labeling yourself based on what you perceive that people feel? Because it's, in most cases, or for myself, in most cases, it's like, who are these people? Like, I say these people, I'm like, who are they? Because the people that I surround myself with, not a single one of them has a perception that I'm supposed to do it all, or that I'm not a good mom because I came back to work early. So I'm like, when I blanket statement, and I do this to my husband all the time, where I'm like, well, what if they? And he's like, who is they? Who's they? Because like, who do you really care about? Mm-hmm. Do you care about how you feel about yourself? Do you care about who your coworkers? To a certain extent, do you care about your immediate family and your close friends? They are who matters. So when you speak in these blanket terms, I guess it's probably, as you've gotten older, you've come to the realization that they doesn't exist, that your narrative is written by you, and that you're right. Absolutely. No one's going to care about you like you.
You're writing your own story, and then think about who's reading the chapters after you. Yeah. Right? And if that should be your focus, is like, what is the story I'm trying to tell? Yeah. So what needs to be in that chapter? You are in charge of that. You're not like reading a book and then following it. Like, you're making your own story. Yeah. And it takes a long time to kind of dive in there, because we have these restraints where it's like, oh, I could this, but that person needs this, or this. Yeah. Like, I think if you think of yourself as like this like rock, let's say going down a hill, and you think of yourself as like, how do I become so strong that no matter what divots, what we hit, we're still going to keep the momentum going down, right? Or if you can go up, that would be even better. But I think realistically, that's kind of what I did, is like, I made sure that I had a strong system. Yeah. I was confident, and I stopped saying that like my confidence was being a bitch, or being like a diva, or being like, you're just so aggressive. And I leaned into that. And it was like, actually, by me showing up as that person, so many more people around me were empowered to do things, including my husband.
Yeah.
You know, he stepped up more at home, but he's the best dad ever. Like, he's able to show up to things. And you know, I think we are in a weird lifetime right now.
Yeah.
It's just really hard because what we perceive is not a reality now.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to accept, is that, well, this is how it should be. But who's telling that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I think sometimes is like that's how parents used to be. If you're looking at like something like your parents, well, that's how they did in their era. But this is you now. This is your time.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that, this whole work-life balance it's false. It's there is no work-life balance. A man would never be told, tell me about your work-life balance. Like, tell me how you deal with, you know?
Yeah.
What it is there's tasks and there's needs and there's love and support all needed. And what you need to do is, like, you are one big energy source.
Yeah.
And you need to figure out, like, how do I give the best amount of energy and get the best amount of energy? That's all it is. It's a magnet. Yeah. Positive, negative. So that's why it's really important to cherish the energy you give to people and get from people. So, you know, and then when you have kids and you have a business, you have all that stuff, it's just like, how do I set myself up so that we have the strongest way of sheltering this energy so that we can be more together? And I think that's truly, honestly, the only thing that got me through it was knowing that I had support. I was able to speak my mind and say, like, this is what I need from you. This is what I need.
Yeah.
And I stopped doubting myself and stopped listening to them, right, in your head, and started leaning into, like, but if I leaned into this, how many more people would win?
Yeah.
And if my kids had my mom watching them, or my husband, or my in-laws, they had just more love. Yeah. Wouldn't you want more love for your family? Yeah. Right? So instead of doing all the things, sometimes think about, like, what could you add? Yeah. And always think of addition instead of subtraction. Yeah. But honestly, those are the sacrifice. When I look at any sacrifice, I'm like, is this adding to my life or removing? Yeah. By me focusing on this, is it holding me back from other things that could be more positive? Yes. Then remove it. Like, you need to move quick.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. I think to kind of relate it back to the world that we're in right now, and I think anyone watching in some provinces, in some states, in some parts of the world, we're all just opening back up again. And it's like, I think what COVID really did in this, like, crazy world we're living in is that it gave us back our time. And we really evaluated how we looked at our time. Because when I think of myself, there's been times in my career where it's been really important for how it looks, for appearances purposes, that you get to work before anyone else and you leave after anyone else. And that's considered hard work, and that's what got you ahead, even in tech, which surprises a lot of people because tech is known as being flexible. I've been tech for 7-8 years now, and there's still those appearances. Well, what COVID did was showed me, and it placed more importance on working smart and making those adjustments to work smart, not necessarily hard. It's like, how do you use your time? How you maybe have more family time during this pandemic because you worked smart and you didn't have other coworkers, to worry about, that were looking at you coming in at a certain time and leaving at a certain time. And it's like, actually, you know what? I can actually crush my goals in 6 hours and still have time for my family, and still have time for a hobby or self-care that I didn't have before because I had to make sure that I was punching in and punching out, hypothetically, every single day. And I think in the salon industry, it's kind of the same. It's like, maybe you've always had the flexibility, but there was like certain appearances you had to keep up. And it's made a big shift. Yeah. So now it's like salons need to look at how salon stylists, independents, whatever sector that you're working in, you can look at how you can be more efficient and be more smart with your time, because it is a new world. Things are different and they're forever changed. And so, of course, because this podcast has no sponsors, our sponsor is ourselves, we have to talk about Salon Scale and how it can revolutionize and change how you operate your business in this post-pandemic world, because you do need to be more efficient and effective with your time, and maybe not even need, but maybe you just want to now. Mm-hmm. Maybe you want to keep that time that you've gotten back, and you want to still make the profits without having to take 10 extra clients to pay your bills. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess my question there, because that was a lot of just me talking and no actual question, how are you supposed to answer that? My question there would be, what are some early sacrifices that a salon owner, a stylist, an independent is going to have to make in this new world, but that will likely pay off in the longer term?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, I think just echoing your time conversation was that, like, I think you have to understand and value the time you're putting in to build or develop your salon or your business, or the things that you're needed in place in order to achieve those goals. I think as you're going to probably sacrifice the most finance in the very beginning of your salon. Like, that's the biggest thing you're going to sacrifice, is because you're kind of investing in the future of your business, right? But here's the like really reality. If you don't invest in the people in your business, they're going to leave. And so your first step is like, you put money into a business to build it up. And then just when that business is going to get back to you, your staff might leave, right? So these are the sacrifices you're going to go. So I need you to completely understand what you're getting yourself into. If you're going to run people and you're going to do this, you need to invest just as much time into those people, and if not more, because that is exactly what we need to do. The future of salons, I believe, are people that have amazing conversations around finance and around their business's needs. So if you can lean more into what your business needs and explain that and be transparency, because I believe transparency is the newest currency to build trust in your business. And these businesses need trust more now than ever. And if you looked at it, like, how great does that feel? Like, these, even though with being closed and all that stuff, we're seeing people line up and saying, like, how can I buy things online? How can I support your business? Like, feels great, right? Because every time, the hard part of being a salon owner is like, you're like, but what if they leave? What if they leave? What if they leave? There's such a big fear around, what if my staff leaves? What if my customers don't come back, right? And what we're seeing right now is, like, with this time, we're seeing that, like, they're there. And, like, let people love and let people show up and want that. Your job is to make it consistent. It's not necessarily about opening the doors, but keeping it consistent and keeping it a safe place for many people and having those transparent conversations. So if there's anything that I would say, the sacrifices over the next little while is going to be really getting over the, like, them, like what everybody else thinks, focusing on what your business needs are and articulating them really, really strongly.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is sacrifice the, like, I got to do this myself. You don't have to do it yourself. Get yourself a good coach, get yourself a mentor, make sure you buy things that are going to help, give you more time back for your family and into your customers and your staff, right?
Like Salon Scale.
It's true, but that's essentially what we were designed off of, is that you absolutely do everything in your business. And I'm sorry, I'm going to apologize to the industry that our industry's financial model was flawed right from the get-go, and it really didn't set you up to have enough cash flow in your business so you could have a life and this and that and that. So if you're going to sacrifice your time from your kids, your family, and do all this stuff, then we need to have a conversation on how to change that financial model, or have the hard conversations on what does the business need. And that's something that, like, took me years. It took me years, and honestly, like, I had several stylists leave me to the point where I was like, on the outside I looked awesome, right? I focused so much on what everybody else thought, but on the inside I was alone, I was broke, I was stressed out, my marriage was going not in the greatest direction, like I couldn't even be a parent to my kids, like I just broke.
Yeah. And
so fundamentally, this industry needs a lot of communication to talk about the raw and real things and the real realities between salon ownership and dealing with the fact that you as a business owner are the PR, the HR, you are doing everything.
Yeah.
So if we think about that, then the only thing that can change that is the business financials, the business literacy, what does it need? And then make sure you're not making those emotional decisions.
Right. Having the conversations across the board, right? I mean, we talked about this in the last episode and we're going to keep repeating it, I think, in several episodes, because it all comes back to the core values of Salon Scale, which is one of the pieces is that transparency and communication piece. And we are going to say that too much, because I think that it is what's really important. I mean, it's what it comes back to. It's having the cash flow conversations, which is going to be an entire other conversation that her and I are going to have. And not just but a lot of people have this perception of it being a creative industry and it being almost creative and innovative, which aren't bad things to be, But there also needs to be a shift in the mindset that it isn't just creative and like the newest hair trends and the newest styling trends. It's also going to be an innovative industry, and we hope we contribute to that in how the business model changes and shifts with everything. I think that the pandemic taught us all one thing, which is like we need to shift how we're doing things, and this industry specifically needs to shift how they're doing things.
Absolutely.
And hopefully, of course we want to be a part of that, but even if we're not, that's what this is for. This community, this Bleach Please community that we're building, is to have those like raw, honest conversations, to have those vulnerable conversations like we're having today, which about juggling parenthood and about, I mean, it all comes back to time and how you spend it. And I think that's relevant to not only in the industry, but it's relevant to all of our lives. It's teaching us like, the whole myth of being able to do it all is like anybody you see that is doing it all, like you just said, actually has a support system behind them.
You're only looking at perspective. You're looking at that one moment, or that, like, I'm so sick and tired of people being defined by their successes instead of their failures, right? Like, you will learn so much more by my failures than my success. So like I have so many people that are like, oh my God, Alicia, you've done all these things. Like, how did you do this? And like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, how about I tell you about all the things that went wrong? Because you'll probably learn more about that than all these accolades and everything that comes with it. And it's frustrating because we need to like have a reality check on it. And it's not a linear line, and it's not even like data points. It's a never-ending treadmill. Like, that's literally what life is all about, and that's what entrepreneurship's all about. That's what business is all about. You're always going to be moving. Nothing is ever going to fully make sense. And it's okay to admit that you need help. Like, if there's anything, the biggest sacrifice I could ever say is that I want to say ego a little bit. Like, I know that's really, like, I wished earlier I would have like been okay with talking to the right people, saying like, I don't know this.
No, I have a point on here. One of my points here before we close it out is it's okay to not be okay. You and I both are like the poster children for being stubborn, having some ego. It's led to a lot of success in our life, but it's also led to lack of growth in some areas, which I think as we transition into different chapters of our lives, we're both realizing like it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to mess up because you're actually going to learn from it. And I used to think that the hard thing about hard things was a book that I read a few years ago, and it was so eye-opening because everyone says that the hard things teach you things, and you're like, yeah, absolutely, but like that doesn't help when you're actually going through them. But it's the truth. It sucks to hear because it's cliche, but there's been chapters of your career in this industry that have been really tough and shitty. Say it, like, shitty. And at the time you weren't like, I'm learning, But when you're having a conversation and trying to like give advice out to the people who are watching this or out to anybody who works for you now, it's like, what do you talk about more? You talk about those failures and how you learn from them versus like the end result, which is the success. Well, success only comes from all the hard lessons that you've learned, right?
Exactly. It's a compound effect of all the hard conversations and all the hard things. And I also think when you said be true to who you are, like obviously we talked and we started off by talking about like your like pump up jams. Yeah. So my favorite song in the world is Jessie J's song, which is Be True to Who You Are. Okay. And I highly, like, we should just tag it. We'll tag it in here somehow. Yeah. But anyways, this song will change you. And if you listen to the lyrics, it just talks about that is no matter what, like, it's okay to not be okay, but just be true to who you are. Yeah. And I promise you, the reason why I've ever gotten anything in my life and why I've gotten any success out of the sacrifices is because I was just authentically what I needed and raw, and then it showed up for me. And it's just being okay with asking for help is the most important thing. Yeah. And you'll learn. And I think it's just about changing the way you say it. Instead of saying something like, oh, I don't really know how to do my P&L, or I don't know how to balance my books, or I don't really know what my business, I don't even know how it grows. I don't even know what's going on. Yeah. That's okay. What you could do is you could talk to someone who might know, whether it's like a accountant or a CPA, or even you found someone on Upwork or Fiverr or some type of place that can kind of build something for you. But you could just frame it as like, hey, here's what I would wish of my business. I wish to have financial security. I wish to have this. Like if I would want those things, and I give you, like, what do you need from me to be able to put a picture together to get to my goals? And those people will show up because our brains sometimes don't always think in spreadsheet land and do all that stuff. So it's okay that you don't know, but frame it as like, by asking for help doesn't mean like you're less than, or you're incapable, or you're like, you're a failure.
No.
It just means that you're going to take your business seriously so that it starts investing back in you. You invest so much time in your business and your customers and everyone else. Let the business take care of you. That should be your number one goal. Let it take care of you, because this world is so hard. And I've seen people close left and right and put their dreams on the line and then move. Like, we work so hard that you deserve to have something come back. And the moment the biggest thing is like, the moment I sold Capelli was the day I actually felt successful.
Yeah.
I sold something of value.
Right.
It was the day I felt valued.
Yeah.
I sacrificed everything. I sacrificed my name, who I was, what I was going to do. But now I watch Nicole.
Yeah.
And she's going through her own set of sacrifices.
Yeah.
But thank God I asked right away the things I didn't know, so I could set it up to fundamentally sell for profit and feel like valued for the first time.
Yeah. And also feel like you were setting her up for success. And that's probably the biggest win of all, is you sold something that you truly knew had value.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like a lot of people sell things and like they don't, they're like, I don't know. But you sold it knowing and having the confidence to know that you had built something that was truly successful, that truly had those components that we've talked about.
Yeah.
And you were setting her up in the small city that we live in for complete success. And she's taken it and ran with it. Yeah.
And that's another thing too, is like, you're never going to know the whole picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's never going to be completed. I think we as humans want to make patterns and make it complete, like check. Like, we just really like to make sure it's completed, move it on.
Yeah.
Business is not a check. It's not as easy as that.
No.
And that's the one thing I learned, is that like, it's an ever going thing. So I think no matter what, it's like, you're probably already doing it. You're probably already doing everything you want. You just need to give yourself some patience, ask the right questions. And the things that you're going to give up are for the greater good, because you're going to teach so many other people. And the more you open your mouth and communicate about those things, you're going to help so many more people. That's what this whole thing is all about. That's why we talk candidly about so many things, is because like, the more we share this, it's going to spark some inspiration on someone.
Yeah.
Maybe not all, but there's going to be someone that's listening to this right now and is like, holy crap, I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
I might need to ask more questions.
Yeah.
And everything is going to be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that the one thing that anyone gets out of this specific segment is that it's okay to make sacrifices. It's okay to have to learn the hard way, and it's okay to ask for help. So I think both of us are the poster children, like I said before, for struggling to do so. So I hope that is a takeaway, is that we're telling you that we wish we would have done it sooner. And I now have to practice that every day. If you have the personality type that you've gone on this adventure, whether you operate behind your own chair, you own a salon, or you're a brand new stylist, I think it's a practice of, it's not something that will maybe come naturally to most people. You're going to have to really think about, on a regular basis, am I actually utilizing myself, my bandwidth? Am I asking for help the way that I should be? Is there someone else that can do this better? Because if you're really honest with yourself, with like 90% of things, there's probably somebody who can do it better, who knows more than I do. So why wouldn't I ask questions? I think for me, when someone asks you about something in a genuine way, don't you love helping and telling them how you wish that someone would have told you? So think about that anytime you're being vulnerable or you're feeling like you should know the answer. People love passing on their life experiences and their advice. And I think that's all we're trying to do here, is pass on our experiences so that maybe you can get a little ahead of the game and that you can get out of your own way.
I would say, like, where focus goes, energy flows. And if you focus on that, like, this is what happens. You attract those people in your life. So then you just get coupled with more and more people that are at that life pace that wants to kind of do those kinds of things. So focus on the right things, because that's where your energy is going.
Absolutely. Should we cheers again?
I think we should.
Yeah.
I think we should. Cheers.
Cheers.
Is it worth